transformation really figure that much these days? Hey guys, MasakoX here. The Super Saiyan transformation. It is quite possibly one of the most recognizable anime tropes of all time. In fact, you might be able to call it one of the most iconic plot devices of any kind of media ever. When the world first saw it in 1991, fans were completely aghast as to how much Goku had changed. He was completely different from what they remembered. Gone was the playful and naive young man, and in its place was a cold, angry, and scary warrior with little resolve, tact, compassion, love. It was just all gone. It was just nothing like we remembered. If you hadn't watched Dragon Ball Z before and you weren't aware that Super Saiyan could be turned on and off, you would be really terrified at this point that the Goku that you knew and loved was gone forever, that he would never revert to his normal state, and really that is actually kind of unnerving. Over 25 years later, has this transformation still got that spark that keeps us coming back time and time again, or has it just really become stale, a MacGuffin, something just to wheel out when a writer has very little idea about what to do next when it comes to fighting, or to move the story along? You know, when in doubt, just go Super Saiyan. Something tells me it's a mixture of all of those factors. Don't get me wrong, I still love the transformation and what it stands for. In fact, out of all of them, Super Saiyan 2 is my absolute favourite. It's pretty much what any normal Saiyan or half Saiyan or whatever you like to call it can actually possibly to achieve without outside help or being dead or being fused or anything like that. Had the number of forms just stayed at the level of Super Saiyan 2 and you just perfected it over time, then I think that would have actually been enough. I'm using this all now because whenever I see Super Saiyan Blue these days, I'm just not that excited anymore. It's kind of boring. Wow, complete burnout in a little over 2 years. That's not good. Especially when you consider that the series in of itself is over 30 years old and power-ups that are similar to Super Saiyan Blue are not much younger than that? 2 years? Oh, okay. I believe it might have something to do with what most of you subscribers actually propose in the comment section, that the writers have no idea what to do with the transformation. Or at least whatever the writers are trying to achieve is being muddled with the events of the entire arc. In the Resurrection F movie, the Super Saiyan Blue transformation was really cool, albeit a little unusual. But it still caught your attention given how much different it was to the normal convention of Dragon Ball. Just no yellow hair, it's blue hair. God Key? What? Is it like that Super Saiyan God thing? Okay, you got my attention. Just like how Super Saiyan God was different to every other form. You could argue that that form is even more radical. I mean, I would. Over time, Super Saiyan Blue has lost its potency, and its abilities have just become all the less impressive and all the more confusing. The user is able to manifest God Ki to some extent and contain it within themselves or around themselves, therefore making ki production much more efficient than in the regular Super Saiyan transformation, which is rage-based, and you're just spewing it out everywhere because you're angry, you don't care, and it looks really, really cool, so we're okay with that. But if you're in a fight, then it's not really efficient and you're gonna run out of energy pretty quickly. With Super Saiyan Blue, you don't run the risk of that, or at least not as quickly. Since this transformation is indeed about ki control, Goku has a lot more versatility when it comes to ki output, power output, and just how much energy he wants to expend at that given time. Given how there's a stamina drain whenever he activates the form, he's got to be a lot more careful, and thankfully this transformation allows him to do so. Say if he's fighting against Krillin, for example, he can go Super Saiyan Blue, which allows him to have better ki manifestation as well as ki efficiency, and he can dial the amount of power he wishes to use against Krillin, but Krillin's not aware of that, so as far as he's concerned, oh my god, I'm going up against Super Saiyan Blue, I must be really powerful. It gives him some level of hope. As for Frieza, yeah, you can go all out with him. The same transformation yields different power levels as a result, and you would think that that would be easy to understand. As far as I can tell, the mechanic of being able to adjust your power level in Super Saiyan Blue hasn't really been registered properly. As a result, it has caused widespread confusion in the power scaling world of Dragon Ball, which is why I don't really think about power levels in Super, I just kinda go along with it. It just is just too much hassle. But confusion leads to resentment, resentment leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. Okay, that might be a little bit over-exaggerated, but it's not far off. Dragon Ball needs to be clear in its message, or else it will not be special, which is exactly what has happened. Well, since Blue isn't that special anymore, well, what do? What can you do to top that? Well, just do what you've always done in Dragon Ball. Just make a new transformation! It was teased in the second opening of Dragon Ball Super, and this key visual is just denoting that Goku's going to have yet another transformation that will make him stronger than everyone else, or at least be able to go toe-to-toe with Jiren properly, and yeah, rinse and repeat. But it doesn't look like a traditional Super Saiyan transformation. Are the writing team, and by proxy Toriyama, moving away from the traditional cookie-cutter method of Super Saiyan? Well, they might be, we don't really know. To understand the original message of Super Saiyan, we need to go back to a time when there was just one form, when vanilla Super Saiyan was all the rage. At the time, Toriyama was struggling to find a way to actually tell the audience that Goku had gotten a lot stronger quickly. Daizenshu 6 might be able to give us an answer. Let's take a look at the following quote. "I was feeling that there were limits on mere strength, so I was generally already struggling to come up with something. I actually hadn't planned Goku's Super Saiyan transformation at all. Then, when I came up with the idea of the Super Saiyan, in order to show that Goku had gained a massive power-up all at once, I thought, well, there's no choice but to change his form too. But in terms of design, the facial expressions and such would become like the design for a villain. I felt, I wonder if it's really okay for him to be like this. Granted, since his transformation is accompanied by rage, I also thought, well, I suppose that part's fine. It was a pretty radical concept. With respect to the villains, my editor would say, for instance, I don't like this, and in those circumstances I change it. Before long, they should transform became the norm, so that was a pain. I didn't really have the time to come up with multiple ideas, so other ideas weren't going to happen. The effect that Super Saiyan had on the franchise was profound. Even the editors of the show were impressed. The Super Saiyan transformation, coupled with Frieza's transformation and transformation to full power, made the practice of transformation all too common in Dragon Ball going forward. Majin Buu had copious amounts of transformations, at least half a dozen. It was an easy way to denote an increase in strength. Not only that, but you could modify the design a little bit if you weren't too happy with the original design, and also, you can make it a little bit easier to draw if you're getting tired of drawing the same thing over and over again. Over time, Toriyama came up with other variations of the Super Saiyan transformation, as well as allowing other characters to acquire the form as well. It all led to that classic phrase that Vegeta said during the Buu saga. Huh. It's like a Super Saiyan bargain sale. When Toriyama was actually pressed about that quote, he said the following. As you might expect, he's never actually been to a bargain sale. Bon was super rich after all, so I don't think there'd be any need for them to go. Most likely he just learnt about them from TV news or commercials he happened to watch. As we know from Movie 9, Vegeta does like to watch a lot of television. As we began to learn in that same interview, Toriyama did try to simplify the Super Saiyan transformation cycle by limiting the amount of transformations that Goku would find useful. Super Saiyan 2 and 3 are nothing more than powered up variations of Super Saiyan. After the fight with Beerus, Goku realized that mastering his normal state and Super Saiyan would raise his level more and sap less strength, so I think he probably won't become Super Saiyan 2 or 3 anymore. We have seen Super Saiyan 2 and 3 throughout Super, but aside from the little spat that Goku had with Beerus when he went Super Saiyan 3 and when he went Super Saiyan 2 against Goku Black, we didn't really see these transformations appear all that often. And yet, okay, Trunks did go Super Saiyan 2, but that was pretty much the pinnacle that he could do before he could go Super Saiyan Rage. When you take into consideration that there are stronger forms out there nowadays, going Super Saiyan 2 doesn't really mean that much anymore. It's just upping the ante rather than being an endpoint, much like how it was an endpoint when Gohan achieved Super Saiyan 2 during the Cell Saga. That was scary, and that was the peak of what we could expect for a good number of months, actually a couple of years. However, when the likes of Super Saiyan God were first introduced, that got me really excited. It was a complete subversion of the traditional visual cues that made up a Super Saiyan. Instead of bulking up, you slim down. Instead of your hair turning gold and spiking up, your hair became a reddish pink, and it just stayed the same shape. That idea was great. It was what we needed after 17 years of no movies. It was the biggest shot in the arm for the transformation since the days of Super Saiyan 4. And yes, I do like Super Saiyan 4. It looks nothing like the normal form. You gotta hand it to Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, the guy who designed Super Saiyan 4, for coming up with something so completely and utterly different to the norm. At least it's not another gold form. I think another reason why Super Saiyan Blue doesn't really hold much in the community anymore is that it really doesn't have any nostalgic connection, unlike most transformations. We all remember the first time Goku became Super Saiyan, and most of the time whenever Goku uses that form time and time again, a little bit of the emotions that we had as a child rise up to the surface, so we feel like, Ah, that's something we're familiar with. Oh, I remember the days when he first did that. That was cool. I mean, yeah, Blue did look awesome at the time, but much like a blue supergiant, a star that burns twice as bright lives only half as long. In this context, burning twice as bright means marketing! Couple that with the form being peddled out so many times and really making little effect on its own, it's just really not that special. It's always having to be tied with another thing, like Kaioken. It just really doesn't feel unique on its own. Yep, that Kaioken Blue plot twist was a gift and a curse. Oh, what's wrong, Goku? You can't beat that bad guy with Super Saiyan Blue on its own? Oh, what a shame. Having said that, if the transformation can be used with some clever writing and interesting plot devices as well as some awesome visual cues, it can look pretty awesome. As we saw in the manga with Toriyama, using a combination of Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan God with Vegeta, he could just flip in between the transformations depending on what kind of level of power efficiency he needed. That was really cool. Even in the manga, when Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue Mastered and he just has no key output whatsoever, that was a really cool alternative to Kaioken Blue. The writers seem to think that all we care about these days is Super Saiyan Blue. Well, newsflash pals, we don't. We like all the transformations. Something tells me, however, that this is a deliberate tactic in order to hype up the new transformation even more. Oh yeah, when that transformation comes along, just you wait, it's gonna be really awesome. Oh, it's gonna be. That is, if it actually hits. If it doesn't, then this is just a major fumble. It doesn't help that we've now got a non-numerical based nomenclature for the transformation. We don't just have numbers anymore, we have names. Yeah, okay, we had Super Saiyan God and Blue, alright, you know, that's fair enough. But now we have the likes of Super Saiyan Rage, thanks to Future Trunks. Then we have Super Saiyan Berserk for Kale and in theory Broly. Over the course of Super, we've had 4 different transformations, 5 if you count this new one, in comparison to just 3 in the original Z series. I mean, Kaioken doesn't really count because, as many people have told me, it's more technique rather than transformation. It's less of a Super Saiyan bargain sale and it's more like a Super Saiyan buffet. I have a dash of the number 1, the number 3, a bit of God, and then a side of Berserk, please. Basic business teaches you that if the public likes your product, then you keep on making that product. And then a master businessman has the ability to take that product, fiddle it a little bit based on audience reaction, and then improve it to the way that it keeps it relevant in the public eye, as well as making sure that it becomes a household name. Something that Toriyama's struggling with as of late, as well as the writing staff, so I hope they get their act together soon. So does Super Saiyan truly matter anymore, really? Well, not as such. Sure, it does have its moments, and it can be truly awesome when you couple it with some clever writing and some awesome visuals, but if you just have it on its own, it's just a little bit more like, rather than, whoa! I mean, we don't want that now, do we? I think what we do want is to make sure that Super Saiyan becomes relevant once again, and it truly becomes a powerhouse in the world of anime, and especially in Super. So what do you guys think? Is there a different, more clever way to show off strength? Do you think Super Saiyan transformations are still relevant? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!